Gavin Newsom is running a political ad in Florida. Why is he running it in Florida? There's speculation that he's going to run for president. Apparently, Gavin Newsom thinks that he's got a shot at being president. He came awful close to getting recalled. Even the people in California hate him. This is a 30-second ad that Newsom was running here in Florida. So let's take a look at it. It's completely filled with lies. It's painful to even listen to, but take a listen and we'll break it down.
It's Independence Day, so let's talk about what's going on in America. Freedom is under attack in your state. Your Republican leaders, they're banning books, making it harder to vote, restricting speech in classrooms, even criminalizing women and doctors. I urge all of you living in Florida to join the fight, or join us in California, where we still believe in freedom. Freedom of speech, freedom to choose, freedom from hate, and the freedom to love. Don't let them take your freedom.
Paid for by Newsom for California Governor 2022.
Every word that Newsom just said is a complete lie. I think the Democrats' version of freedom and a regular, everyday American's version of freedom are two different things. During the pandemic, Florida was the freest state in the nation, and California was the most locked down state, where they took away many of your freedoms. Okay, so let's break this video down bit by bit.
It's Independence Day, so let's talk about what's going on in America. Freedom is under attack in your state.
All right, so Gavin Newsom starts out talking about Independence Day, which he's a lefty. All Democrats are lefties, because even if you consider yourself a regular Democrat, you're voting for far left shit. Okay, that's not good for our country. And these people hate America. They say it's racist. It's filled with inequality and all this garbage. And they don't like this place. Democrats over the 4th of July weekend were running ads for events that were anti-American. One of the flyers that I saw was "Fuck the 4th of July," and they made an event out of it. So Democrats, they don't believe that they live in the greatest country. He's saying that freedom is under attack in Florida. Okay, this is where he's running this stupid ad. Apparently he's trying to get Floridians to start thinking about him as a presidential candidate. So he's going to run for president. He's going to try to primary out Biden. I mean, he's a terrible candidate, but he's probably, he's a slick talker. Look at this ad. He's going to dupe a lot of people, probably. Who wants to vote for Biden? The Democrats will probably run Kamala Harris, because that's the bed they have to sleep in. They promoted her as being the greatest thing, even though she had 1% support. She's a diversity hire. And it didn't matter how ignorant she is or how incapable she is. They had to run her because she's black. So we'll definitely see Kamala Harris running against Gavin Newsom and Joe Biden in the primaries to portray that Florida doesn't value freedom somehow. Again, we were the freest state during the pandemic, and California was the most locked down state. For all I know, there are kids in California that still have to wear masks at school, and they're forcing people to take the jab and all that shit. So we weren't doing that here in Florida. Conservatives look at freedom like, if you're talking about the pandemic, I should be free to decide whether I want to take a vaccine or not. Okay, it should be up to me. It's my freedom. In California, they were forcing people to take it. And the Democrats are brainwashed into thinking freedom is getting the vaccine. The government is forcing people to take it, and that's good, according to their mentality, because they're led to believe that if everybody gets the vax, then we're all going to be safe. So it's good. You can give up parts of your freedom if it keeps you safe. The government's not going to keep you safe. So, I mean, there's lots of studies done out there that discount that whole idea of locking everybody down prevented the spread, or a certain amount of the population gets vaxxed and it doesn't spread, and all that crap it's all been debunked. So we were free in Florida. I never got it, and I never will get it. So, and I think over the next few years, we're going to see studies done that are going to prove that there were a lot of people were harmed by this thing. So, I mean, it wasn't a good idea. It was rushed through, and no studies done on it. And I got to be careful talking about this crap, because YouTube will still give me a strike and toss me in YouTube jail if I talk too much about it. We're free in Florida, but we're definitely not free on YouTube.
Republican leaders, they're banning books.
Such a joke. Republican leaders are banning books. What's he talking about there? We're talking about books that are not appropriate for children, okay? Democrats want to, in California, they want to read transvestite books to kids in preschool that talk about masturbating twice a day because it relieves stress. All kinds of other books. They want to sexually indoctrinate these kids and confuse kids. Kids that, if you tell a kid that if it's a girl and you keep telling this little kid that they might be a boy, they're going to start to believe you, because their brains are nowhere close to being fully developed. They're very impressionable. And little kids this age believe in Santa Claus. All right. So what the Democrats want to do to little kids is they want to twist their minds and warp them into something. Who knows, man? It's crazy. It's child abuse. They want to be able to read filth to kids. And here in Florida, we're not going to allow that shit. You let the Democrats have their way, and it won't be long, and they're going to be showing porn to these little kids. Books that are age appropriate, okay? That's what they're going to allow kids to read in Florida in school. Not filth like they will in California. So my question to Democrats that agree with Gavin Newsom, where do you draw the line on books that your kids should be able to read, or magazines? Are you going to hand your little kid a Playboy magazine? Let them look at that shit? Some of you dumb Democrats probably would, because you're sick in the fucking head.
Making it harder to vote.
Newsom is trying to say that our conservative leaders here are making it harder to vote. If you don't have to show an ID to go vote in California. So that leaves the door open for fraud. And we're not going to put up with that shit in Florida. We want everything to be legit. You have to be registered, and you have to show an ID to prove who you are. Democrats want to lie and say asking for an ID is racist. It's not racist. You have to show an ID to buy alcohol. You have to show an ID to use your food stamps or to cash your welfare checks. Joe Biden said that black people, essentially he said black people, they don't know where the DMV is, and they don't know how to use computers. So if you ask for black people to go get an ID, it's just too hard for them to go get an ID. Joe Biden and the Democrats, their expectations of black people are very, very low. I think you're going to be hard-pressed to find a black person that doesn't have an ID or a driver's license. It's all part of the propaganda. We are a country of laws. We have rules. Democrats want to just have a free-for-all. No rules, all right? You're not going to have a society very long if you just have no rules. There's rules when it comes to voting. And making it easier to finagle your election, that undermines the country.
Restricting speech in classrooms?
Restricting speech in classrooms. So they're talking about the so-called "Don't Say Gay" bill, which doesn't say "Don't Say Gay" in it anywhere. It's we don't want to talk about pronouns and LGBTQ shit, anything sexual. Okay, if you got a teacher that's a female and she's a trans and wants to be called Mr., that's super confusing to a little kid. Why you want to go fucking their head up, right? So, we don't want to talk about the trans bullshit, because then you have to get into talking about sexual stuff. And, in Florida, you can't do that up to the age of 3rd grade. It should be much higher. It should be all the way up to 12th grade. But Democrats think that you should be able to sexualize kids, read dirty books to them. I mean, it's so crazy that we even got to be talking about this, but they're nuts. Okay, so do we want to raise decent kids or not? Certain things need to be off limits as far as the material that you read to a little kid or the things that you talk about with children. Democrats they don't think like us. They want to indoctrinate these kids. They want to sexually pervert these kids for some reason. Conservatives don't. We don't want to do that here in Florida. The only way to not be for restricting speech in classrooms would be you could say anything you want to a kid, no matter how disgusting or how terrible it is. If you draw the line somewhere, then you're restricting speech in classrooms. You know what I mean? I'm sure some Democrats, they're for, hey, you can talk about anything you want with a kid. I think if you give these Democrats enough leeway, ultimately, they're going to have sex with kids. I think that's what they want. The pedophilia is ingrained in these fucking people. They want to eventually get people used to the idea that pedophilia is just a gender. All these fuckers should be locked up, if you ask me.
Even criminalizing women and doctors.
He's saying in Florida, our political leaders want to criminalize women and doctors. He's talking about abortion here. So some states, not Florida, they've completely banned abortion. I wish Florida would ban it. I don't want my tax dollars paying for a person to kill their own kid. It's disgusting. If you have morals and you value life, you're going to be pro-life. You're not going to want people to kill their own kids, innocent babies. Democrats pretend to have all these excuses. And if you listen to their excuses, none of their excuses makes you go, okay, I could see somebody killing their own kid for that. Make any fucking sense. Democrats believe that you should be able to have an abortion right up to the point that the baby comes out. Just before the baby comes out. Some Democrats believe that you can give birth, okay, to a baby and then kill it. That is insane. That's murder. And if you ask most conservatives, abortion at any time is murder. So Democrats, they absolutely can't take personal responsibility for anything. They always have to blame other people and come up with excuses. So conservatives value life, and they think it's wrong to kill an innocent baby. This is what he's talking about. So, but abortion isn't banned here in Florida. I think you can have an abortion up to like 12 weeks or something. Correct me if I'm wrong, but you can't have late-term abortions, and Democrats hate that. What do you think is a better state to live in? A state that values life and doesn't want to kill innocent people? Or would it be better to live in a state that doesn't value life and thinks it's okay to kill an innocent baby? Democrats say it's a clump of cells or whatever, but even they don't believe that. They know it's a life. They know it's a baby. They just don't give a shit. That's what kind of people they are.
I urge all of you living in Florida to join the fight or join us in California.
Gavin Newsom wants to invite people that live in Florida to join the fight or to move to California. People are leaving in droves from California, and a lot of them are moving to Florida because they can't afford to live there anymore, or the crime is so bad. They have a one-party political system over there that essentially rules the whole state. Left. It's all lefties. Socialists, communists. If you think there's 57 genders or whatever, and you want to sexualize little kids and kill babies, if that's your idea of freedom, then yeah, and you live in Florida, get the fuck out of here. Go to California. If you think men can have periods and men can get pregnant, California's waiting for you.
But we still believe in freedom, freedom of speech.
Democrats don't believe in freedom of speech. Maybe they did, 20 years ago. Gavin Newsom saying that he's for freedom of speech is laughable. All of the big social media companies out there, they're all left, like Gavin Newsom. And they censor conservatives. They don't censor the lefties. They propagate lies, like the Hunter laptop. They hid it from everybody. Trump is colluding with Russia. But if anybody on the right is putting out evidence that the last election was sketchy, they get their pages pulled. They get censored. They get stuff deleted. So the left, which is Democrats, they don't believe in freedom of speech. And to say that they do is a joke.
Freedom to choose.
Freedom to choose. Gavin Newsom is for the freedom to choose. Well, I think he's talking about the freedom to kill your own baby. But he definitely wasn't for the freedom to choose whether you wear a mask or not, or whether you got a jab or not. They weren't for that kind of freedom.
Freedom from hate.
He's saying that the lefties and the Democrats are they're for freedom from hate. They're the most hateful fucking people on the planet. If you don't agree with them, they fucking hate you.
And the freedom to love.
The freedom to love. Can you name any lefties that embodies love? You know what I mean? They're so divisive. They're so hateful. They race bait and try to trick people into thinking everybody's racist. We have a systematic racism problem. You know what I mean? So they're not for love. They don't look at your character first. They look at your skin color first, or your sexual identity first. Everything about them is divisive. There's no love there.
Don't let them take your freedom.
Paid for by Newsom for California Governor 2022.
Again, if you don't like it and you live in Florida, move to California. But the numbers are showing that people are leaving California and they're moving to places like Florida and Texas. Even Democrats are moving away from there. Newsom is running this propaganda ad in Florida over the Independence Day weekend. Apparently, maybe he'll run it again later on or whatever, but he's trying to plant the seed into people's brains, lefties, and maybe left-leaning independent type of people, that he's going to be running for president, so, and anybody that wants to vote for him, you must like what's going on with Joe Biden running the place because, inflation is going to stay high as long as Biden's in there. Gas prices are going to stay high. Trump's going to run again, and let's vote for him and get him in there, and he can fix all this shit in like 2 days. He'll make us energy independent, and we'll have low gas prices again. That's going to bring down inflation. when Trump was in there, right before the pandemic, we had the greatest economy in the history of America. And with Biden at the helm, we've already slipped into a recession. 2 quarters of negative growth. That's the definition of recession. There's a lot of other shit going on with the cost of our food, and we're gonna have a food shortage. There's something going on behind the scenes, man, where they're destroying food processing plants and killing chickens and cows, and Bill Gates is buying up all the farmland and not doing anything with it, so nobody plants food on it. So this is what incompetence looks like, and this is where incompetence takes you. And if you want to vote for Gavin Newsom to keep the incompetence rolling, then I guess that's up to you, idiots. All roads lead to misery if you're going to vote in lefties. And there's no such thing as just a Democrat anymore. They're all lefties. So they don't have pride in America. They're not going to put America first. Democrats, like Gavin Newsom, they're going to keep the borders open. They're going to flood this country with illegals. Illegals, not just from Mexico. We're talking all over the world. Who knows how many terrorists have slipped in through the border. People are dying in record numbers of fentanyl overdoses, and the media doesn't talk about it. The media is the left-wing party. It's their job to shield the public from what's going on. If they don't talk about it, nobody's going to talk about it. So, you like the high gas prices, you like the inflation, you like the misery, okay? I mean, how soon people forget we had it made under Trump. We were doing great. So, we can turn the ship around. We have to make sure that our elections are fair. And it doesn't have to be this way. So, Gavin Newsom is blowing smoke up your ass. I don't think America's gonna fall for it. But, hey, I didn't think America would fall for Joe Biden, the guy who didn't campaign. But miraculously, he got, 80 million votes? Yeah. Gavin Newsom is a liar. He's a douchebag. Fuck Gavin Newsom and fuck Joe Biden.